Because what's a river?
Hello, Ungoogleable.
What was a river?
Welcome to your life.
All the other students
Today
moved
is
away
wonderful.
from this individual.
Fuck it, we do it in my bay.
But in California, a river can be something very big or something very, very small. And we were interested not only what the rivers were flowing at that point when we were doing the atlas, but what they would have been their flow if there had been no impediments, no dams, no diversions. And we had to do all this by hand. It was terrible. And as a result, before you get into any of these things, remember the 6 stages of any project: enthusiasm, disillusionment, panic, search for the guilty, punishment of the innocent, and reward of the non-participants. You just have to accept it. And before you get in the project, you better say, I'd really like to do the project for its own sake.
Oh, the burn.
That fell into a situation with a couple of my former students who ended up at Department of Water Resources initially. And we put together the prototypes for the farmland mappings program for the state of California, which is still going on now, digital. And then we get to big data. And big data at CSUN started fairly early, and there were some interesting people along the way. Keith Ryden, a weather observer, became divisional chief of 2 divisions at Esri. He was one of our students.
Oh, crap.
Greg Hansel, he's the director of cartography for the CIA. Andy Beauford is with Esri. And Bruce Rees went to Bendix Corporation and moved on to Disney. You'd be surprised what you guys are capable of doing if you think about it sometimes. And they began with pretty crude things. 1985, we acquired this stuff. The typesetter had died, so we needed the laser. That was the first laser, and the first Mac that could type. And then the other people wanted that piece of junk over there on the right. And out of this period, nothing that I had to do with it, came the greatest piece of big data research in the history of the department, which was produced by Jim Allen and Gene Turner. Are you guys here?
Yes.
Woo! Okay. Now, their co-authors are Nancy Allen and Carol Turner. And I've always liked this quote that got into print that Jim made many years ago. It says, when I was a kid in Providence, Rhode Island, our family had no car until I was 12. But I remember the excitement of taking trains to see relatives in Maine and watching the farms, woods, towns, and industrial cities go by and wondering what life was like in those places. Wondering with the eyes open. That's the best preparation for big data work. Knowing the individuals, knowing the places, and getting a hold of information that allow you to do things. Well, I busied myself with rather odd things. Because of the earlier work, we were the first group to ever get detailed data on AIDS. So I went through this very fast so you can see what it's like to watch a modern contagion take hold. 1982, 1983, 1984, 1985, 1986.
Holy shit.
Does that look random to you?
No.
All the people in Public Health Service says it was. They said there was a concentration there in West LA simply because the population was denser there. So let's try this again. 1981, we're going to look at the African American cases now. 81, 82, 83, 84, 85. Does this look like the previous one? No. Why not? Well, the contagion starts with the gay population of black men with the white men, but it quickly moves throughout the black population to heterosexual situations because bad public health, no hospitals, little hospital care, and a huge component of sexually transmitted disease had taken hold of the black community quite early. 1986, bang. Okay, now, when you make maps like this, first of all, because the health budget is cut up equally by the Board of Supervisors of the county. And this is a problem that requires a lot of money that might not be in your district. You follow that? And it was most thoroughly suppressed by the gay population because they felt that there would be a witch hunt. So I stopped doing that. I moved on to homicides. That made people angry too. This is a map nobody cared about because, well, they chose to go and they're just scattered all over, so who cares? But infant mortality got people moving again. I moved off into socioeconomic data for a while. I was always interested in children. That's the future, not me. And the biggest circles are the red circles. Those are the poorest circles, the bottom. Poor people, 1990. Let's follow the pattern. Oh, wait a minute. I have to go back because I think you all see that huge center of poverty, Westwood. The students at UCLA, of course, are living off of mom and dad. They entered the census as poor people. It's important to see that, and important to be there to realize that poor students aren't quite the same as poor illiterate people in a ghetto. I did this because I had students. I was just cranking through California courses all the time, and they'd never been, they didn't know what LA was. Household income, aggregate income. Well, LA is done, then I do San Francisco, Sacramento, San Diego, blah, blah, blah. Then I decided to do New York. I found this one very interesting because at the time, it was Clinton at the time, but every president does this sort of thing. Where do presidents have their photo ops in the daylight with the TV cameras on them? Oh, the poor people. I'm the poor people's friend. And at night, where did they have dinner? With the poor people? No. In the case of New York, it's Central Park East. That's where they have dinner. That's where they sleep. They play both sides. So let's look at both sides. Less than a high school education. Non-Hispanic West Indian first ancestry. They don't mix particularly well with the Italians, it appears. And this map, oddly enough, was of the greatest interest to certain people because I was contacted in the wake of the destruction of the Twin Towers. They discovered that most all of their terrorist interests lay in those little neighborhoods over there in Brooklyn. People are like birds of a feather. They flock together. And I found my maps were starting to be used by narcotics because they'd look where the Colombians lived, and that's where the wholesaling was done.
Thank you for logging out.
I started to move away from this.
Today was a wonderful day.
Percent
Please
foreign
come
born,
back
of course.
tomorrow.
Poverty. And it developed up to about early 1990s. When I made a series of maps like this, I call them lifestyles. Let's just say you want to live in the green, not in the red. There are about 5,000 circles there. Let's look a little bit more carefully. Well, look at that, San Luis Obispo. It's sort of in the middle. Well, there are people around here with money, but there are a lot of those poor students too that dilute them. Then there's the Bay Area. Notice Oakland, how it pops up there nice and
red, blue, green.
Congratulations.
You reject the good enough. You reject words like symbolism and postmodernism. Obsolescence is not part of your vocabulary. Every night, every day, every step of the way, the diktat of fashion, the agenda of the colloquial. Gone. It takes more than a pretty face to catch your attention. I repeat, it takes more than a pretty face to catch your attention. Good. That is very good. We are source decoded. For you. For the most perfect moisturizer. The most advanced cosmetic lineup. Scientifically proven, scientifically tested. For you.
Congratulations. Calibration completed.